Live from New Delhi, you're watching the India News Hour, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 1 hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and visiting Prime Minister of Singapore, Lawrence Wong, to hold bilateral discussions in New Delhi today. Prime Minister Wong to call on President Murmu later in the day. GST Council approves 2-rate tax slab effective from the 22nd of September, slashes rates from chapati to TVs. Prime Minister Narendra Modi hails the decision. Ahead of Ukraine coalition meeting, Zelensky pushes allies for more pressure on Russia, while Putin willing to fight. Trump plans to hold talks. In Nigeria, at least 60 people killed, several missing after boat carrying over 100 capsizes in north-central Niger state. And in sports at the ongoing Asia Cup, India takes on Malaysia in second Super 4 match on Thursday in hockey. A very good morning to all the viewers joining us at this morning broadcast, and to begin with our special segment on the latest GST reforms. Well, the 56th GST Council meeting, chaired by Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Wednesday, gave its nod to a two-tier rate structure of 5 and 18%. Now, with the new structure set to be implemented from the 22nd of September, at a presser, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that the main drivers of the economy, which are the farmers and agriculture, health, including, were the focus of the decision of the GST Council.
Common man and middle class items mein, there is a complete reduction. Reduction from 18 or from 12 to 5%. I list out those items, all of whom have come to 5% from either 18 or from 12. Common man items such as hair oil, toilet soap, bars, shampoos, toothbrushes, toothpaste, bicycles, tableware, kitchenware and other household articles have all come to 5, whether they were in 18 or whether they were in 12. Similarly, reduction of GST from 5% to nil, 5 से 0 में जाने वाले आइटम्स इंडिकेट कर रहा हूँ. अल्ट्रा हाई टेम्परेचर मिल्क, द UHT मिल्क, चेना और पनीर, all the Indian breads will see nil rate. So रोटी किसी के ऊपर भी, चपाती और रोटी और पराठा और whatever it is, they all come to nil. Reduction of GST from 12% or from 18% to 5%. इसमें फूड आइटम्स बहुत सारे हैं. नमकीन से भुजिया है, सॉसेस है, पास्ता है, इंस्टेंट नूडल्स है, चॉकलेट्स, कॉफ़ी, प्रिजर्व्ड मीट, कॉर्नफ्लेक्स, बटर, घी, ये सब 5% में आ रही है. फिर रिडक्शन फ्रॉम 28 टू 18%. इसमें मिडिल क्लास के एस्पिरेशंस मीट करने वाले बहुत सारी चीज़ हैं. एयर कंडीशनिंग मशीन्स, TVs which are over 32 inches, all TVs now at 18%. I want to underline, all TVs are now at 18%. Dishwashing machines, small cars, motorcycles equal to or less than 350 cc are all now coming to 18%.
The GST Council also approved a special tax of 40% on sin goods such as cigarettes, pan masala and gutka.
That special rate of 40% has also been proposed and it's cleared. That will apply only to pan masala, cigarettes, gutka and other tobacco products such as chewing tobacco, products like zarda, unmanufactured tobacco and BD. All goods including aerated waters containing added sugar or other sweetening matter or flavored caffeinated beverages carbonated beverages or fruit drink or carbonated beverages with fruit juice and other non-alcoholic beverages, excluding those specified at lower rates, will all be covered under 40%. All this will be effective 22nd September.
The changes on GST of all products except sin goods will be applicable from the 22nd of September.
Which is the first day of Navaratri. The changes in GST rates of all goods except for pan masala, gutka, cigarettes, chewing tobacco, products like zarda, unmanufactured tobacco, BD, will be implemented with effect from 22nd September 25. Except for these, for all items, the new rates will come into effect from 22nd September.
The Finance Minister also announced reduction of GST on 33 life-saving drugs and medicines from 12% to 0.
$33 life-saving drugs and medicines, and they all come down from 12 to 0. From 5 to 0 and 3 life-saving drugs and medicines used for treatment of cancer, rare diseases and other severe chronic diseases. There are several drugs and medicines coming down to 5 from 12. I'm not listing each one of them out. Like that, very many other items, diagnostic kits, reagents, blood glucose monitoring system, all of them are coming to 5%.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman announced that insurance services, which currently attracts 18% GST, will now be fully exempt.
Exemption of GST on all individual life insurance policies, whether term life, ULIP or endowment policies, and reinsurance thereof, to make insurance affordable for common man and increase the insurance coverage in the country. Exemption of GST on all individual health insurance policies, including family floater policies and policies for senior citizens, and reinsurance thereof, to make insurance affordable for the common man and increase the insurance coverage in the country.
And now let's understand more about this. And to discuss this, I'm joined by Mr. Ajay Mishra from New Delhi, and also joining us on this broadcast is Mr. Vivek Chauri, who is the former chairman of CBIC and senior advisor to KPMG. A very warm welcome to all the guests and the correspondent, to both the guests here on this special broadcast. First of all, coming on to you, Ajay. Well, after a day-long meeting and with the approval of all the states, the GST reforms sets a new precedent in New India, or the New Bharat, as the government hails, isn't it, Ajay?
Has been announced by the all-powerful GST body is a testimony that it is the cooperative federalism which has played at its best, and during the GST Council meeting, there was not a single state which has not supported this rate rationalization, or to say the simplification of this very special tax reform. GST, as hailed as the India's biggest tax reform since independence, is now entering into the second phase of big ticket reforms, because earlier, when it was being rolled out in 2017, it was called that it is a GST means good and simple tax. So all the reforms which has been announced by the GST Council Chairman, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman yesterday during the press conference after the day-long marathon meeting of the GST Council, the reforms are aimed at simplification, promoting ease of doing business, ease of living for the common citizen. the process reforms via simplification of the return filing and refund processes for the small and medium enterprises, the rate rationalization, pruning the 5 tax slab to just 2, standard and merit tax rate of 5% and 18%, and a special category of 40% to discourage the demerit goods and to tax the super luxury items.
Right.
So in a sense that the reforms which has been announced are going to be really big ticket reforms to support the India's growth strategy in the long run, and also prevent the common man from the ones of from the inflationary pressure, so to say. There were many questions that whether these reforms have been taken in the light of recent tariffs imposed by US. The finance minister said that this was the reforms in process since a year, so it is not an impact of any external factor, but India is committed to the reforms to boost its economy, to attract the investment, not just from the domestic economy but from the international, across the border.
Right.
So these reforms are going to have a economical as well as the social impact, more to say, in the longer run.
All right, coming on to you, Mr. Jory. Now, from 4 slabs to 2 slabs and a special one for other goods, which are the sin goods. How do you see this reform?
Good morning, Deepika, and good morning, viewers. Well, there's just one thing that I can think of. This is a reform windfall, and it's very wide and very deep in its manifestation, and that is something which is very welcome. In fact, I think what has been announced yesterday by the Honorable Finance Minister surpasses all expectations that the industry and stakeholders had, with this rate rationalization exercise. Generally, what was going around was that the two slabs of 12% and 28% would be removed. So the discussions were hovering around, how those items will be refitted. But as I said, they're quite startling in terms of the depth they've managed to achieve.
Right.
And one of the very stark things which comes out so clearly and which is so positive for industry and for consumers is the broadbanding of rates for a large range of products. So if you recall, there were lots of issues about classification of food products, for example, because there were different rates applicable to different food products, and there was rate arbitrage, and there were advanced rulings, at variance across states, causing a fair amount of disputes and, contention. But all that has been settled in one stroke by these reforms, and all food products, if you've noticed, have been broadbanded at 5%. So those which were at 12 have moved to 5, but a very large number, which was at 18, has also moved to 5. So it's a very big boost for the food processing sector. Another thing I want to mention with regard to food processing is that there was a residual entry which attracted a very high rate of tax. That was for any food product which was not elsewhere specified. Now, the industry had been clamoring for a long time that this stifles innovation. Any new products that are introduced invariably, attract the highest rate, and therefore, it becomes difficult to make them viable, and at the time of inception. Now that everything has been brought under 5%, that is another issue that has been resolved. Likewise, I find that for agriculture, for personal health care, personal care products, drugs, education, renewables, all these rates have been broadbanded into 5%. So it's a very, very major move. And I think the implications are very long term. The other point which I want to make, Deepika, is that apart from the boost to consumption, which everybody has been talking about for a while, which definitely this package is going to give, the other implication, as I see it, is that the rate structure is now so stable because most of the anomalies and versions have been removed. And they were there right from the inception of GST, and they were a big problem for the industry. Some because of the rate inversions they were causing, the blocking of working capital and all of that. But because we have a fairly stable rate structure, I think in the long term, this medium to long term, this is also going to give a big fillip to investment.
Indeed.
Because after all, what is it that investors look for? They look for certainty and they look for stability.
Right.
And I think that is something additional, which is not much talked about, which this rate structure is going to provide. So it's a positive every which way I look at it.
Right.
And frankly, if I look for anomalies in the rate structure now, there are almost none that I can find.
Ajay, while we are talking about stability, tell us the kind of impact it may have on the economy considering the current geopolitical situation and the global tariff trauma. Ajay.
When we asked this question directly to the Ministry of Finance, that what will be the impact on the GDP per se, they said that there will be a positive impact, but it is not easy to measure those in terms of GDP growth. But yes, there will be boost to the consumption, there will be boost to the investment, as Vivek sir is pointing out. It is a great relief for all those stakeholders which are important for Viksit Bharat, be it the common man, the middle class, so to say. The farmers, for example, are going to benefit because the GST on the tractor tires and parts have been slashed from 18 to 15%, while the tractors themselves have dropped from 12 to 5%. Biopesticides, micronutrients, drip irrigation systems, as well as the agriculture machinery will now fall in just 5% slab. So while the government is taking all the measures to double the farm income, the savings that the farmers will accrue because of this reduction in the GST rates for the farm mechanization, the equipments needed for the farm mechanization are going to help the agrarian economy.
Right.
While all the essential items for you and me, which we aspire, or the middle class aspire to buy during the festive season, automobile sector, I think, is going to have a big positive impact, because almost all the small cars for 1200 cc of petrol and 1500 cc of diesel will now be reduced from 28% to now just 18%. While the electrical vehicles will continue to be in the 5% bracket, which is a big support for the industry. Only luxury cars have been kept at 40%. And also the labor-intensive sectors, as the finance minister has pointed out, that the very focus point of all the discussions is to promote ease of living and also to support the labor-intensive sectors. So handicraft sector, leather, footwear, these kind of sectors in which most of the medium and small enterprises are involved, are going to benefit immensely from these measures. As they said, there are the process reforms also, which is likely to unlock the working capital, and the refunds will be available for them. The inverted duty structure mechanism has also been addressed, and that will also prevent the funds to be unlocked from the industry side, and the industry is likely to benefit.
Coming back to you, Mr. Johari, but before that, let's also take a look at what the Prime Minister has said on the GST reforms. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that the GST Council has given its nod to sweeping reforms in the indirect tax regime, calling it a next generation step to ease the burden on citizens and boost the economic growth as well. Now, in a social media post, Prime Minister said, and I quote him here, the Union government had prepared a detailed proposal for broad-based GST rate rationalization and process reforms aimed at the ease of living for the common man and strengthening the economy. Glad to state that GST Council, comprising the Union and the states, has collectively agreed to the proposals submitted by the Union government on GST rate cuts and reforms, which will benefit the common man, farmers, MSMEs, middle class, women and youth. The wide-ranging reforms will improve lives of our citizens and ensure ease of doing business for all, especially small traders and businesses, unquote. This has been Prime Minister's tweet on the GST reforms. And also on the other hand, top leaders also including Union Home Minister Amit Shah, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar have hailed the newly introduced GST reforms, describing them as a step towards improving the ease of living and doing business. So External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar termed the GST Council's decision to adopt the next-gen GST as a historic achievement, saying it will greatly impact India's transformation journey and the government's efforts to improve the ease of living and doing businesses. Home Minister Amit Shah also described the GST tax rate cuts and reforms as a historic decision, saying they will provide major relief to the poor and middle class while supporting farmers, MSMEs, women and youth. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh also hailed the next-gen GST reforms, saying the move will enhance the ease of living, further strengthen ease of doing business, empower small businesses and boost India's self-reliance under Atmanirbhar Bharat or self-reliant India. Union Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal lauded the GST reforms, calling it a decision that reinforced the vision of Viksit Bharat. Mr. Chaudhary, coming back to you, India is also aiming to become the third largest economy, and with that vision in focus, a people-friendly financial reform is being welcomed by many. We just saw the tweets coming in. How will this aid to India's vision of becoming a developed nation by the year 2047? Mr. Chaudhary.
If you were to make international comparisons, Deepika, then what these reforms achieve is to lower the incidence of tax, domestic taxes, which is mainly GST today, quite substantially. And I have not done any calculation yet, but I think the average collection rate for GST, owing to these rate changes, will come down quite sharply from 11.6 to something like 9%. Now, that compares very, very favorably with GST regimes all over the world, in many parts of the world, in fact. In many parts of the world, I must also mention that the rates of GST are quite high compared to India. So that's a very favorable comparison, and that will definitely be, a sweetener for investors when they look at India as one of the options for, making investments into manufacturing and other sectors. So I think from the international point of view, and coupled with that, is the fillip that this will give to certain export-led sectors. And Ajay mentioned labor-intensive sectors like leather, ready-made garments, which have received not just a rate cut but also removal of anomalies in a large way. Take textiles, for example. The fiber neutrality which the new rate structure ensures, will also be a very big fillip to exports and manufacture ready-made garments and so on. Likewise, for leather, all raw materials like raw hides, skins, etc., have also been brought down to 5%, which again, are the basic raw materials for footwear and for other leather accessories and products, which are exported in a very big way. So I think overall, the reduction in the GST incidence and the specific focus which the government has given to certain sectors, defense being one, renewables being another, this will definitely be a big fillip to India's export competitiveness.
Right.
And please remember that one of the things which is essential for attaining the goal of Viksit Bharat is that we need to shore up our share in global exports. And I think this is going to be one of those reforms which will definitely contribute to growth in exports, along with the growth in consumption and investment which I talked about earlier. The third thing which I want to mention is the fillip that it's likely to give to construction and the infrastructure sector, because of the sharp drop in the rate applicable to cement, for example. So all in all, there are many pieces, which are very, very positive for growth. Another thing I want to mention in the context of exports is, an anomaly or, an issue which is pending resolution for a long time, which is about export of services. The GST law recognizes a category of intermediaries, and the place of supply rules for intermediaries were such that even genuine exports were very often blocked and not treated as exports of services because of the definition of the place of supply rules for intermediaries. That has been fixed as part of this package, and because of which I think many blockages which the industry was experiencing in the export of services will also be overcome. So it's a large number of things which have been done for specific sectors, which I think will definitely boost both exports, consumption, and investment.
Ajay, when we talk about sectoral benefits, another very important development is zero GST on life-saving drugs and also other drugs and medicines that will become cheaper. How much of a relief is this, not only for the beneficiaries, but for the entire medical sector, Ajay?
Healthcare is one of the very important sectors which has been the focus of this GST, the next generation GST reforms, Deepika. And as I just mentioned that there are two aspects of it. One, the rates have been lowered on the essential drugs used for the treatment of cancer, AIDS, and other critical illnesses. And another big move is to make the insurance premium both from the life side as well as from the health side to nil, which is a great a great boost to the insurance sector. The finance ministry has yesterday assured that that all the insurance companies have assured the government that they will pass on the benefit to the consumers because of this. But I just want to put a question to Vivek sir. If there is no GST on the insurance, Vivek sir, and they will not be availing the ITC, the input tax credit on insurance premium. So will that be, how will that be taken into account? Because now the insurance industry will not be able to get the benefit of ITC. So how much of the benefit will consumer get is not very clear on the insurance side. Vivek sir, if you could help me on that.
That's a very important question that Mr. Mishra has raised. Mr. Johri, if you can please answer that.
Yeah. So there are two considerations that we must take into account. When we're talking about health and life insurance being dropped to zero, it is a fact that because the rate of tax on these insurance products will be zero, insurance companies will not be able to avail of ITC of inputs and input services that they use to deliver these services. Now, but we must remember that what has been reduced to zero is only personal health insurance and personal life insurance taken by individuals. Please remember that there are other insurance products that these companies sell, and also that there are corporate accounts, for health and life insurance, which are purchased by corporate bodies. So those have not been given this exemption. So I think it will be a cost to the insurance industry, but it will be able to absorb it because it has a bucket of services that it offers. Moreover, I think the insurance companies have given an assurance to the government that they will pass on the benefit to consumers. So I think we'll have to wait and watch, but those are the two things that I thought are important for answering this question.
Mr. Johri, we'll come back to you. Thank you so much, Mr. Ajay Mishra, for joining us and bringing us a rounded perspective on this very important development. Before going ahead and taking this discussion forward, let's take a look at the industry leaders and what they are saying. Well, industry leaders have welcomed the next generation GST reforms, saying that the simplification of the tax setup will help in ease of doing business. Take a listen.
I congratulate the government for this much timed, very well thought of and much needed financial stimulus that the government has given to the domestic industry. Turbulent times are going on and the American exports have been directly hit with the heavy tariffs, and in such situation the reduction of high GST slab rates will definitely boost domestic purchase, will boost domestic demand, and the companies will have a lot of options to push their products in the domestic market. A fairly good move to counter the international challenges, and I think the domestic industry will welcome it wholeheartedly.
today's decision in the GST Council meeting actually is an important step towards GST reforms, which is bold and brave. The earlier 4 slabs of GST, 5%, 12%, 18% and 28% has now been reduced to only 2 slabs of 5% and 18%. In fact, 175 consumer items, important consumer items, have witnessed a decline in GST rates from 18% to 5%. And in electronic items, important electronic items like TV and air conditioners and small hybrid cars have witnessed a decline in GST rates from 28% to 18%.
The decision taken by the GST Council today is a historic step in the welfare of the general public. The sports goods and toys both have been brought to the category of 5%, which will benefit the public at large because both the items are used by the children, and the rate of 5% will definitely help the Indian families to spend more on these items, thus pushing up the demand for sports goods as well as toys.
ASSOCHAM has been working very closely with our government to suggest various reforms for ease of doing business. Thankfully, Prime Minister announced GST 2.0, as we would call it, during his Independence Day speech, and hence the expectations are very high from the industry. One is, of course, the reduced 2-slab structure, which would simplify GST compliance and probably increase further inclusion of informal sector into the GST regime. At the same time, reduced taxes on most of the consumer goods would mean increased consumption, increased capacity utilizations by the industry, and hence probably increased investments in the times to come.
A very pleasant surprise and a wonderful gift by the Honorable Finance Minister to us. This particular slabs of 5% and 18% is a very welcoming thing. And if you can see, the 5% is mostly on the essential commodities, which is very, very welcoming and which really help the middle class to increase their purchasing capacity. Not only increasing the purchasing capacity, but also give room more for their savings. Similarly, health, education are the basic things where the government is also looked into. Insurance, they totally removed the tax. So health for health insurance, very welcoming thing. And come September 22nd, these reforms will be implemented. That is more of Diwali advancing towards Dasara.
WWEPC welcomes the government's decision to revise GST rates, reducing duty on garments valued below Rs 2,500 from 12% to 5%, bringing synthetic yarn to 5% and lowering GST on several essential items, including those related to daily needs, healthcare and agriculture. This forward-looking step will ease the burden on consumers, support farmers and patients, and give a strong boost to the textile and woolen sector by enhancing affordability, competitiveness and demand in both domestic and export markets.
GST Council met yesterday for taking a landmark decision of reducing the GST and reviewing the GST rates. First of all, I must congratulate the Finance Minister for taking this bold step, and which was only taken at the initiative of the Prime Minister's word, which he gave on the Independence Day speech from Red Fort. This has not helped the small and medium exporters, MSMEs, and the general public for giving them relief for day-to-day things, but has also rationalized the GST things and made it very, very simple for a common man to know exactly how much he is spending and what is a product worth.
So a positive response from most of the stakeholders there on the GST reform. Mr. Jory, coming back to you and before concluding this special segment. Now, before this GST reform announcement, a recent research report of SBI suggested that the proposed GST 2.0 reforms could stimulate consumption, ease inflationary pressures and even generate additional revenue for the government, despite an initial loss of tax collections. Now that we have all the facts in hand and figures in hand, what are your views on what the SBI report suggested on expected GST reforms?
So there are estimates about what kind of a fillip it will give to GDP. And they range from about 70, 80 basis points to 120 basis points. That's one. So I think everybody acknowledges that there will be, because of the forward linkages and because of the boost it will give to consumption, the rate cut will definitely have a positive impact on GDP growth. That's one. The fact that, rates have been, the cuts have been so deep in many sectors, and, the entire sectors have been touched, for this rate reform, will cool down prices. As it is, inflation levels are currently low in the country, and, that will get a further boost because of these rate cuts. So I think these are the two things which give a fair amount of confidence that the revenue implication, or even if you were to call it revenue loss, calculated in a linear way today, will definitely be made good in due course. So I think any apprehensions that this may affect the fisc in a negative way because revenue collections will be impacted, I don't think will bear out. In fact, if you study, Deepika, the previous rounds of rate cuts also, there's evidence to show that they did not really have a very significant impact on revenue growth. There were other factors in the economy that may have contributed to, a slowing down of revenue growth at that time, but they're not attributable to rate cuts. So I think all in all, if you take all this evidence into account, the impact is definitely going to be positive, and we just heard a whole lot of industry representatives confirming the same.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Vivek Johari, for joining us and bringing us a rounded perspective on latest GST reforms. Thank you. Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Moving on to other stories. With an aim to reaffirm the continued commitment of the two countries to further strengthen their comprehensive strategic partnership, now Singapore Prime Minister Lawrence Wong arrived in India on Tuesday for a 3-day visit, during which the two countries will sign key agreements to shore up ties in key sectors. Now the leaders will hold talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the national capital today. On Wednesday, the visiting Prime Minister also paid tributes to Mahatma Gandhi at Rajghat. Later, he also met Union Minister and Bharatiya Janata Party Chief JP Nadda in New Delhi. Chief of Naval Staff Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi visited the National Maritime Heritage Complex or NMHC in Gujarat on Wednesday. He reviewed naval exhibits including warship Nishank, IL-38, SDMR aircraft, Sea Harrier, helicopters and missiles. Developed with the support from the Government of Gujarat and Indian Navy, the 400-acre NMHC is set to be one of the world's largest maritime museums. Admiral Tripathi also toured the ancient ASI site at Lothal, reflecting India's 4,000-year-old maritime legacy. Calling NMHC a living testimony to India's maritime past, present and future, his visit reaffirmed the Navy's commitment to maritime heritage and awareness. French President Emmanuel Macron will co-chair with the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer, the Coalition of the Willing meeting in hybrid format on Thursday in Paris. Now, during the meeting, the leaders will discuss the work on security guarantees for Ukraine carried out by chiefs of staff in recent weeks and will take stock of the consequences of Russia's persistent refusal to make peace. The group, which includes European Union countries as well as Turkey, Canada and Australia, has been discussing how to provide Ukraine with military support after a truce to prevent future Russian attacks. European leaders and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will speak with US President Donald Trump on phone following the Paris summit. US President Donald Trump also said on Wednesday that he plans to hold talks about Ukraine conflict in coming number of days after his Alaska summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin in August failed to achieve a breakthrough. Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Wednesday that he is open to ending Ukrainian conflict through negotiations if common sense prevails, but warned that he is prepared to use force if necessary. However, Putin reiterated his firm conditions, including Ukraine dropping NATO ambitions and ceding control over eastern regions like Donbass. While open to meeting Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in Moscow, he questioned the legitimacy of Zelensky's presidency. Putin made these remarks while addressing a press conference in Beijing.
Well, the US president is not without humor. It's clear. We all know this well. I have a good relationship with him. We communicate with each other on a first-name basis. I can tell you, and I hope he will hear this too, as strange as it may seem, but during these 4 days of US-Russia summit in Alaska, during the most diverse negotiations both informally and formally, no one has ever expressed any negative judgments about the current US administration.
Putin also said he is ready to meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky if Zelensky comes to Moscow.
By the way, US President Donald Trump asked me to hold such a meeting. I said this is possible. At the end of the day, if President Zelensky is ready, let him come to Moscow and such a meeting will take place.
US President Donald Trump on Wednesday said the US could increase its troop presence in Poland and pledged to secure the country's defense during a White House meeting with its President Karol Nawrocki. Trump greeted Nawrocki at the White House with a flyover by US pilots in military jets with F-16s in a special missing man formation in tribute to a Polish F-16 pilot who died during a rehearsal for an air show last week. Trump has long been supportive of Poland, lauding its leadership in boosting military spending and acknowledging its geographic position in a tough neighborhood. Trump said that US has a tremendous relationship with Poland.
And the president's been amazing. He had an incredible race. He came from behind and he won very handily. The people of Poland have taken to him immediately. They really love him. There's great love and respect. He's a very successful man, but he went into a political hatchet, so to speak. It was a pretty tough race, pretty nasty race, and he beat them all. Well, Poland, we've had a tremendous relationship. I think now it's better than ever because of this relationship. It's a little special because we fought together. But we've always been very good, and we have some wonderful people.
Nawrocki said after the meeting that the two men had discussed increasing the number of US troops and that Trump had strongly guaranteed Poland's security.
I would like to express my gratitude for your invitation. Only after 1 month from my sworn in Sworn and from celebration for my inauguration. It means that Polish-American relations are very important, very strong. I think that we have so strong relations that we have never had, and it's very important for me. Our relations are based, of course, on the values. Right. And thank you very much for your support, for your endorsement during my very hard campaign. I remember it, and I'm very grateful for your support. It was the fight me against others, so your support was very important, and the support of Polish people, Polish diaspora in United States of America. We have almost more than 10 million people here, and they voted for Donald Trump.
In Nigeria's north-central Niger state, at least 60 people have died and dozens were rescued after a boat carrying 100 passengers capsized. The vessel departed from Tungan-Sule in Malale district on Tuesday morning, heading to Duga for a condolence visit, when it struck a submerged tree stump near Gosawa community in Bogu local government area. The Niger State Emergency Management Agency said emergency personnel and local divers were searching for the victims. The agency said the boat was overloaded and collided with a tree stump, causing it to capsize. Moving on, the 50th Toronto International Film Festival, or TIFF 50, starts on the 4th of September. Now, this 11-day festival marks 50 years since the start of the festival. The opening film of TIFF 50 is the world premiere of the documentary John Candy, I Like Me, directed by Colin Hanks and produced by Ryan Reynolds. 291 films from 50 countries will be screened at the festival. Some are from India, like the iconic Indian film Sholay that has also completed nearly 50 years. India is going big with the promotion of women in films and the Waves Bazaar that is pitching India as a global filmmaking hub. Well, joining us now is my colleague Munmun Bhattacharya from Toronto. Munmun, good morning. What are some of the key highlights of the Toronto International Film Festival this year?
Right. So every year in early September, the Toronto International Film Festival is held here in Toronto in Canada. And this year, the festival is taking place from 4th September to 14th September over 11 days. This is a special year for TIFF because this is the 50th anniversary celebration of the Toronto International Film Festival. The first edition of the festival was held in 1976, and then it was called Festival of Festivals, but it was after that renamed in 1994 and it became the Toronto International Film Festival. If you look at the lineup of films, then there are 291 films that are going to be screened here from around 50 countries, and out of them 206 are features, 66 are shorts, 6 are classics, and 10 are primetime titles. Now, out of them, there are around 10 films from 19 countries because many of them are co-productions that are going to compete for the prestigious Platform Award. Now, this particular award celebrates direction that is very bold and also very distinctive storytelling. Now, having said that, this particular award is going to be given out on the last day of the film festival, that is on the 14th of September. And the cash prize is of around 20,000 Canadian dollars that is given to the winner. Some of the films that are going to be competing for the Platform Award are Hen, The Currents, Steve, to name a few. Other than that, there's a lot of interest on the celebrities who will be walking down the red carpet. So one very prominent name is that of Angelina Jolie, the American actress, who will be here for the world premiere of a film, Couture. And other than that, Canadian actor Keanu Reeves is also going to walk down the red carpet for the world premiere of his film. That's called Good Fortune. And besides that, Steven Soderbergh, the American director who's an Oscar-winning director, he will be here walking down the red carpet for his film, The Christophers. So there are a lot of big names that are going to be there for the red carpet, like Jodie Foster, Scarlett Johansson, Josh O'Connor, to name a few.
And also, Munmun, tell us, how is India represented at TIFF this year?
This year, it's going to be a significant presence as far as India is concerned at the 50th edition of the Toronto International Film Festival, because we all know about Sholay, don't we? So that 1975 iconic Indian film is going to be screened here in its restored 4K version. And the restoration process took quite a lot of time and effort. It took 3 years. and archival materials were used from Mumbai and UK for this process. Other than that, Satyajit Ray's Arinder Din Ratri is also going to be screened here. It's a classic, and this again is going to be screened in its digitally restored 4K version. This particular classic was also screened, you would remember, at the Cannes Film Festival in May this year. So this one is going to be the North American premiere of Arinder Din Ratri. Other than that, there is Gandhi, which is a web series by Hansal Mehta that is going to be screened here in the prestigious Primetime program. And that, of course, is the first, as far as India is concerned, is the first time that an Indian web series has been selected for screening in this particular section. Other than that, there is Homebound by Neeraj Ghewan that stars like Ishan Khattar, Janvi Kapoor, Vishal Jetwa. That is also going to be screened here. You would remember at the Cannes Film Festival in May this year, this was screened in the Uncertain Regards section. Then there is Bayan by Bikash Ranjan Mishra, which is going to be screened here in the Discovery section. This particular section encourages emerging filmmakers and features their sophomore features as well as the debut features. Besides that, there is Anurag Kashyap's Bandar or Monkey in a Cage that is also going to be screened in the special presentation section of the Toronto International Film Festival.
All right, thank you so much, Munmun, for joining us and bringing us the latest straight from TIFF 50. You're watching Daily India News Hour, and now it's time to get you all the latest action from the world of sports. To begin with tennis first. In the US Open, Canada's Felix Auger secured a hard-fought comeback victory over Alex de Minaur to reach the men's singles semi-finals. The Canadian came from a set down to win a 4-set thriller and reached the semi-finals at a major for the first time since 2021. Australia's de Minaur has reached 6 Grand Slam quarterfinals, including 3 in New York, but has never gone beyond that stage. Felix Auger will face world number 1 Yannick Sinner in the semi-finals. In women's singles category, Amanda Anisimova executed a stunning upset over Polish second seed Iga Świątek to reach the last 4 stage. Now, Świątek was among the top contenders after her Cincinnati Open triumph, but she struggled to find rhythm in the quarterfinal round. Anisimova got her revenge on the biggest stage in American tennis after she was handed a brutal 6-0, 6-0 whitewash by Świątek in the Wimbledon final. Anisimova will battle Naomi Osaka in the last 4 stages. In men's category, at the doubles round, India's Yuki Pamri and New Zealand's Michael Venus booked a semi-final berth after a historic victory in the last 8 stage. Now, Yuki Pamri and Michael Venus progressed to semi-finals after defeating Croatia's Nikola Mektic and America's Rajiv Ram. Ram and Mektic put pressure on Indian-New Zealand duo, but they stood strong as Pamri put away a volley on the first set point. The tightly contested second set was won by Ram and Mektic in the tie-break round. However, the 14-seeded pair rallied for the deciding set and progressed to their first ever Grand Slam semi-final. On to hockey. In the Hockey Asia Cup, Mandeep Singh and Hardeep Singh lead India to a 2-2 draw against South Korea in their Super 4 match in Rajgir, Bihar. The hosts took a lead through Hardik Singh's amazing field goal in the first quarter. Korea equalized with a penalty corner. Later in the game, the visitors also capitalized on a penalty corner and took a 2-1 lead. In the final quarter, Mandeep scored the crucial equalizer, helping India maintain the unbeaten run in the tournament. Later on Thursday, India will clash with Malaysia in their second Super 4 match. Malaysia head into the game with momentum as they beat China by 2-0 to keep their unbeaten streak alive. In boxing, India's 20-member contingent is set to take part in the World Boxing Championship that will kick off from Thursday in Liverpool. 2-time world champion Nikhat Zareen and Tokyo Olympic bronze medalist Levlina Borgohain will mark their international return after more than a year. The men's side, led by Sumit Kundu, will feature 2021 youth champion Sachin Sivach and Harsh Chaudhary. They are joined by a promising group of debutants in Jadumani Singh, Hitesh Gulia and Abhinash Jamwal. The tournament will follow a knockout format. Each bout will consist of 3 3-minute rounds judged on the 10 points must scoring system. In Formula 1, Ferrari will celebrate the anniversary of Niki Lauda's first world title by running a retro livery at the Italian Grand Prix on Sunday. Sunday's Italian Grand Prix marks the 50th anniversary of the late Austrian triple champion Niki Lauda's first title. The first of the three championship triumphs in 1975 brought an end to an 11-year title drought for Ferrari. To pay tribute to Lauda's first title, Ferrari will wrap its cars in a special designed livery to mimic the look of the 1975 car. It will be a welcome distraction for the team as they have not won a title since 2008 despite still being second overall.
This one with Niki is a bit special for sure. That for us it's important. It's the 50 years back in Monza where he won the title, and it's a special test. And for me personally, Niki is my idol when I was 10, and it's even more special for me.
And that's all for this edition of the India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching News Hour. Namaskar.